Yep, I'm back. And this time I'm not on a bike. I actually have a fishing rod with me because I'm gonna go try to catch a fish. Now, have I ever caught a fish in this river? Hell no. Do I think I'm gonna catch a fish like right now? Hell no. If I catch a fish right now, I will give each of you $5. Now, are there fish here? Absolutely. There's like maybe four. That's still a good amount, you know. Four fish, it's doable. Why is my mic quality so bad? Because I'm talking through my AirPods right now. All right, let me run you down the plan. So we got the we got the we I don't even know what that is. It's I found this in my dad's tackle box and it looks small enough, so I just yellowed it. And then I got my brother's fishing rod that I may or not have stolen from him at this point, but he got two, so it's chill. Pretty high possibility of seeing a bear here. This is actually where I had to run away from one, but I got a fishing rod, so everything's chill. Today's video is going to be about the COTs parts that we use, or COTs is short for common off-the-shelf parts. So basically anything that we buy online to use on our robot. And we're also going to go over some robot mechanisms. Very, very basic, just to get you guys kind of give you guys a head start. We use many different sites for the parts that we buy. The main one is called West Coast Products, or WCP. So imagine Amazon, except no Jeff Bezos, and then also for robotics. So that is kind of West Coast Products. It is owned by, I think, it's owned by the mentors of an FRC team. That FRC team is called 1323 Madtown. They won the Reefscape Championship, so they're champions of the, you know how it works. So, and oh, I saw movement there. That's not a bear, it's a chipmunk. We get a lot of our structural parts from there. Feel free to look into it. I might turn it over to, it's not a live Anton this time. It's more like, probably couch potato Anton. A lot of parts on FRC robots that are custom made. In fact, most of them are. Like, yes, we do buy parts off of WCP, but it's not like, for those of you who took FTC, it's not where you buy parts off of GoBuilda, like the U channels and the slides and everything, and you just kind of slap them together. We actually buy parts off of WCP, and then we fabricate them or cut them up to size in P1, where we have a chop saw, which is basically a pair of angry scissors. The very base kind of structural part of a robot, I would say, is something called box tube. So you will get very, very familiar with this, especially as we move on to the fall training season. But box tube is exactly how it sounds like. Imagine a tube, except it's a box. It actually comes in 47-inch lengths, so they don't pre-cut it for you. So let's just say, for example, you want a 13-inch long box tube. You will have to buy a whole 47-inch long box tube and then use the chop saw or angry pair of scissors to cut it down to 13 inches, and then you'll have extra. And that's exactly what we do. So, and there's different types of box tubes. There's 2x1 box tube. There's 1x1 box tubes. There's 2x2 box tubes. There's also different wall thicknesses. There's 16th inch wall thickness and 8th inch wall thickness. And please get used to fractions as well. We will not be saying 0.5 or 0.25. We will be saying half inch and 1/8 inch. The most common thicknesses for box tube are 1/8 inch and 16th inch. And those are the two that we'll be using. And we also use the pre-drilled box tubes. So not the ones that have kind of like a plain side with no holes at all. We use the ones with holes already in them, which brings me to the next point, the types of bolts and nuts that we use. And then also there is a difference between a bolt and a screw. A screw has a pointy thing at the end, a bolt does not. Bolts that we use are called number 10-32. Do I know what that means right now? No. Couch potato Anton probably does know what that is, so he will explain to you right now. Now, the hole size for a 1032 bolt is 0.196. Please remember this number so I don't have to keep reminding you, because we will be making a lot of holes, and majority of those holes will be a diameter of 0.196 inches, not millimeters. Swear to God, if you put millimeters, I will get very annoyed. Inches, 0.196 inches. Memorize that number, please. It's like the most common dimension that you will use in a build season. The hole pattern on the box tubes are diameter 0.196, so our standardized value. Apart from box, we actually get a lot of other stuff, which we will definitely get much deeper into during the training season. So we get all of our belts, all of our chains, all of our sprockets, all of our gears. What else? We also get our bearings and bushings, which there is a difference. We also get our wheels, other electronics as well, which we will also get into details later on. Where's my spot? Oh, it's over there. The next thing we get is our shaft. The shafts that we use are called thunder hex. Imagine a hex, except the corners are rounded. That is thunder hex. Those thunder hex shafts, they do require bearings. Do they use hex bearings? No, they use circular bearings. Because circular bearings are stronger than hex bearings, and we will get into the detailed part of that later on during the training season. There are two types of thunder hex shafts that we use. We use one that's a 1/2 inch diameter and also 3/8 inch diameter. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, we're not catching anything here. All right, at this point, might as well start looking for a bear. Oh yeah, that's the spot. All right, time to snag it on the very first throw. Oh yeah, I see one right there. Yeah, all 4 fish are here. All right, watch this cast. Beautiful cast right here. Snag. I'm just warming up, guys. I haven't. This is such a light lure that it's the wind. I have to like put a spoiler on this at this point, man. Oh, yeah, come on, bite it. Oh, man. All right. Attempt number 6, I think, at this point. We'll take that. We'll take that. We'll take that. I forgot I'm doing a robotics video. I'm just and then we also get our motors from WCP. So there are gonna be now 2 types of motors that we use. We will be using the Kraken X44 and the Kraken X60. Now they have a similar name because the Kraken X44 is basically the Kraken X60 but smaller. Kraken X60 is vice versa. It's just the Kraken X44 but on steroids. The Kraken X44 is just less powerful than the Kraken X60 and therefore takes up less space and less weight. Now, weight is a very big thing in FRC. Why do we not use any servos in FRC? Well, now I'll backtrack. We actually do not use servos in FRC, and that's because motors are just better. They can spin continuously, they're more powerful, and they will probably cost around the same amount. Because yes, servos have more torque, but the motors already have enough. So there's generally no need for servos. Holy, this is one hell of a knot. Yeah, it's a lost cause, guys. The worst day of fishing in my life, officially. Yeah, I blame it on Colossus. Swear to God, fishing line finds like the most extraordinary ways to make knots. Like, what is this? How am I supposed to deal with this? How did this even happen, man? What? Now, WCP isn't the only site where we get our COTS parts from. There are also multiple different sites, and one of those sites is called CTRE, or Cross the Road Electronics, which from the name, you should already infer that they sell electronics, and yeah, of course they do. We get most of our electronics from across the road, I'm pretty sure. If not most, we get some. And there's also other sites as well. There's also sites like AndyMark, there's Vex Robotics, but we try to stick with WCP as much as possible because it's much more organized if we just use one site for most of our products. Now, for things like box tubes, I understand that catting them might be very, very difficult, which is why there are things called feature scripts. Uh, Feature scripts are kind of like, imagine, Google has like extensions. So feature scripts are kind of like extensions for Onshape. They just make your life easier by shortening the amount of work needed to be done to make things like, for example, box tubes. So we'll get into feature scripts later, but right now I'll cut back to.
So I will put 3 links into the description of this video. One will be Alex's feature scripts, Julius feature scripts, and then Spur Gear custom feature. So what I want you to do is go into any Onshape document, you can create a new one, and over here on the very right, you should see either a drop down or either a plus sign, kind of like this, where it says add custom features. So what I want you to do is I want you to go down here and press on this plus sign. And then now what you're going to do is you're going to copy Alex's feature scripts. You're going to copy the URL and then paste it into this search bar. Press enter, click on Alex's feature scripts, and then I want you to get robot belt from Alex's feature script. So what you're going to do is you're going to click the drop down and then click the robot belt down here. And then it should show this green little prompt up here. Then if you go down here, you'll see robot belt added, but I already have it, so I don't need it. And then for Julia's feature script, same thing. You're going to copy the link. You're going to go into the plus sign. Then you're going to paste the URL. Click on Julia's feature scripts. And now I want you to add, let's see, add extrude individual, add fillet expert, gusset generator. Let's see, what else? Shaft, spacer, tube converter, and I think that should, and extrude individual, and that should be it. So all of those from Julius. Then now if you go into Spur Gear, there should be only one. Copy the link, go back here, press the plus sign, paste the link, click on this, and then just add the Spur Gear one. And then let's see for this one. Okay, and then I will actually put a fourth link into them. It should be belt and change in, so fourth link in the description. So copy this again, go back here, plus sign, paste the URL, click on it, and then belt and change in. And then that should be it.
There's also other applications you can get for Onshape. So one of them is MKCAD. And MKCAD is basically a library where there are a lot of robotics components across the different sites that we just talked about, and makes it a lot easier because you don't have to like scour WCP to import a singular part. You can just very easily import it from MKCAD. So now I'm going to cut back once again to Couch Potato Me, and I'll show you guys how to get that.
Yes, I'm back. So for MKCAD, you see here that I have this little sidebar over here. MKCAD appears over here, but you need to get it first. So what you need to do is open up a new tab in your browser and then search up Onshape App Store. There you go. You can click on the very first link. And then in the search bar over here, search up MKCAD. Click on this little link over there. And then over here, you should see like a blue subscription button. So press that and then click allow for anything. Like just keep following the prompt. Then what you should eventually end up doing is it should say like you have it. Then once you go back into your Onshape document, I would suggest to reload. And then you should see a blue MKCAD symbol appear over here. Once you click on it, it'll show you like a couple more prompts. Press yes to whatever they say. They're not going to steal your information or anything. And then you should have MKCAD. Now if you click on like the drop downs for bearings, you'll see I have a bunch of bearings and different bushings that I can use.
All right, now I've been using a lot of these sites as comparison for Amazon, but do we actually use Amazon? Yes, we absolutely do. Oh, come on. I thought that was a fish. Honestly, I would be so happy if I caught a stick right now. I would be, oh my God. I'll be happy with a rock. We do use Amazon. We use it for things like, for example, last year we needed a net for our robot. WCP or any of the other sites does not sell do not sell any nets, so we had to buy it from Amazon. And we also buy some of our electronics from there as well. So, for example, we use cameras on the robots for software, which we'll get into later on. We also use something called an Orange Pi that I'm pretty sure we get from Amazon. So it's also pretty useful just for your kind of generic stuff that aren't really considered as robot components. We will sometimes need kind of a industry thing, like for example, a turntable. We are using a turntable. If you guys don't know what a turntable is, it's a table that turns. and we do want to set our robot on top of a turntable. And WCP does not sell turntables because it's robot stuff only. Turntables are not considered robot. Oh yeah, 10-foot cast, man. That's where McMaster comes in because it has such a large variety of different industry things that you can buy. Like it ranges from box tubes to like, I don't know, some water plumbing stuff to turntables. You can also buy tools from them. You can buy like electrical stuff as well. So it's kind of like Home Depot except on steroids, and it's a great site. We actually used it last year for our bumpers. Like WCP does not have the things needed to make a bumper, so you had to go to McMaster to get all this stuff from there. When using a lot of these sites, you will oftentimes need to use the dimensions of the part that you are buying. Now, this is where drawings come in. Drawings are, there's kind of blueprints of the part that you're trying to use on your robot or whatever. And all of the parts that I just said do have drawings of probably every single component. That includes Cross the Road at CTRE as well for their electronics. And you will have to definitely use them. Oh, worst cast of my life. To include that part in your CAD, and we definitely do use them. You'll also need to use them to create custom mounts because the electronics from CTRE and the electronics from Amazon, like the camera and the Orange Pi, they sometimes do not kind of work with the different hole patterns and the different components that we have in our robot, which is why we will oftentimes need to create a custom 3D printed mount for the component that we are trying to implement onto our robot. One that we did last year, which was pretty simple, was can range from CTRE. The can range is basically a distance sensor. It gives the distance back. So another very important site is Swerve Drive Specialties. We need to make our robot move, right? If our robot does not have wheels, then our robot is considered scrap, which is where Swerve Drive Specialties come in. So the wheels that we use, snag. The wheels that we use are are called Swerve. Now let me backtrack a little bit. So earlier on in FRC, the most common is called drivetrain method. So drivetrain is the thing that makes your robot move. Oh my god. Earlier on in FRC, the most popular drivetrain method was the tank drive, which is basically exactly how it sounds. It drove exactly like a tank. It had three wheels on each side, powered by four motors in total. Yeah, so three wheels on each side, two motors on each side, so two motors for three wheels on each side. It was like mediocre at maneuvering, at speed. It was really hard to kind of turn and go fast while maintaining kind of the accuracy that you want. So where swerves comes in. So swerve, imagine like a shopping cart, like the shopping cart wheels, the ones in the front that they turn like this. So they're kind of like the shopping cart wheels, except once again, on steroids. They have two motors. One is used for the motor that's actually powering the spinning of the wheel. The second is a motor that's actually spinning or powering the rotation of the wheel. So it's basically a fully powered shopping cart wheel. There are different types of swerve modules as well. There's Swerve X from WCP. There's the MK4i, which is the one that actually we used last year. It's called MK4i from Swerve Drive Specialties. And now Swerve Drive Specialties released the MK5N, which is the newest version. It was actually tested out by an FRC team at Champs this last season, and to them, I think it worked pretty well. So we're gonna try it out next year. It should be a lot better than the MK4Is that we used last year, so it should definitely be a lot easier to change the gear ratios on them because the gear ratios kind of change the torque and speed of your drive base. So it should be really, really nice. And the MK5Ns are the ones that we're going to be using next season. I think I got bitten by a mosquito. We will definitely get into that. I think possibly even the first fall training meeting. And it should be really, really nice. So yeah, Swerve, always go with Swerve, guys. There's also like different drive bases as well, weird ones. I think there's a Kiwi drive and a Crab drive. Swerve's the way. Now we can actually start talking about the components of a bot. There's about like five-ish kind of general mechanisms or components of a robot, and those are So why did that not cast? So that's the drive base, the intake, the handoff, the outtake, and the climb. Now, do we need to include all five of these mechanisms on our robot to make it good? No. Last year, we only had the dry base, intake, handoff, and outtake, and that's it. So only four. So dry base is always going to be there. Again, we don't want our robot to be a chair. That's very, very important to your robot. We use it. We will definitely keep using it every single year. Um, the next that comes is the intake. So in each FRC season, there are sometimes multiple different game elements. So last year it was two, and what the intake does is it actually gets the game piece inside of your bot. Very, very important because without the intake, you won't have anything to score points with. Again, it kind of intakes, the game piece. There are multiple different intakes as well that you can make, which we will talk about later on the season. Again, this is kind of a general video. The next thing that comes, and I'm kind of going from the ground up, and now comes the handoff. Handoff is, well, here, I'll actually go to the outtake. An outtake is the mechanism used to score the game piece because it outtakes the game piece. So last year, our intake was the funnel where it intook is that even a word? Intook the coral, which was the game piece for last year. And the outtake was something we call the Tuzzy slide, which is at the very end. And I'll probably just show those on the video right now. The handoff is the part in between because the game piece needs to somehow get from your intake to your outtake. And that's via the handoff. So the handoff for the past couple of years were trigger wheels, which were just wheels that kind of forced the game piece into the outtake. And that's basically it. There's people behind me. They're probably like so weird. I'm wearing a GoPro while fishing. Yes, I'm a very esteemed and well-respected fisherman in Tahoe, guys. Yep. Dude, what is wrong with that fishing rod? Now, I mentioned wheels for the handoff. Wheels are kind of like the go-to thing for making the game piece move in your bot. Not not like claws, kind of an FTC, not like a humanoid thing. Literally just wheels. They're called roller wheels, which are basically squishy wheels that give you a lot of control over the game piece and especially over the speed or the positioning, that type of stuff. And a big thing with the roller wheels is compression. Compression is how much those wheels compress against the game piece of the season. So a general rule for compression, a general rule is, there you go, is that if you have a hard game piece like last year, you want your roller wheels to be soft because it's if you have a hard object and a hard roller wheels, kind of moving that object through your bot, it'll be really, really difficult to get any grip on the game piece. It's kind of like imagining you have like two rocks in your hands and you're trying to grab another rock in between those two rocks. Um, I can actually try to demonstrate that right now. So imagine you have, you got your two rocks right here, right? And you have your third rock right there. Imagine trying to pick it up. It'll it'll be pretty. I'm honestly trying my hardest right now to pick it up. It's gonna be pretty difficult, and you see how like my rocks are sliding and such. It's again, that's why you don't want to have hard roller wheels with a hard game piece. Now, if I do it with my fingers, a lot easier because my fingers are kind of squishy, you know? Gives me much more control over the game piece because a lot more of my finger is actually in contact with the game piece, in this case, a rock. You saw that throw, that was like 50 feet. Vice versa for soft game pieces. So you don't want to use soft rollers for a soft game piece because it's gonna be kind of like the same effect as I did with the rocks, except opposite. It'll be really, really hard to control because there's just going to be too much play between the game piece and your rollers, which is why you want to use soft rollers for hard game pieces and hard rollers for soft game pieces. So that's compression. We will definitely get a lot more practice with this later on as well. So, don't worry about it. Summary: drive base moves your robot around. Intake sucks up the game piece into your bot. Handoff transfers the game piece from your intake to your outtake. Outtake spits out the game piece. For example, so the handoff might not be needed from year to year. So sometimes you have one component that's both your intake and your outtake. There's a lot of different combinations of robots each year, and it kind of varies from season to season. Now, another thing is usually common every single year is a climb. So for those of you who haven't, you know what a climb is, it's basically where a robot climbs something, gets itself into the air. Kind of like a pull-up bar, except a lot more complicated than a pull-up bar. This is usually a very common aspect of the game year to year, so we can definitely expect to see a climb next year. But there are a lot of different components to get a climb made. Some of those are kits that are sold on WCP. What are kits is basically fully assembled mechanisms that teams don't have to fully custom make themselves. So imagine, for example, an elevator. Um, not the elevator that that's in buildings. The elevator that are in robots still does the exact same thing. Lifts something up. That's like a mechanism's high up, so you can score on something high. WCP does sell kits of elevators, and we actually did buy a kit last year and found out that it's a lot better to make a custom elevator. So we're never doing that again. And usually for climbs, what people do is they use something called telescoping arms, which is basically an arm that can extend and become, longer. And usually what they do is they place hooks at the end of the telescoping arm, and they extend it up, and then they grab onto like a bar or something, then they climb the robot up. And yeah, that's a climb basically. All of this sounds really straightforward, but in reality, it's a lot harder, but also a lot more fun. I think that's basically it for like a general intro. I don't think I missed anything, but I'm actually gonna go home. Why am I doing this?